On a highway between cities, a couple named Ray and Joanne are driving home with their young daughter, Perry. The mood inside the car is tense. Ray seems emotionally unstable, snapping over small things, and the argument between them keeps escalating. Meanwhile, Perry is quietly entertaining herself, playing with her mirror and lipstick, something she never goes anywhere without. The tension continues to build until they almost get into an accident, but luckily they manage to avoid it. Not long after, Perry's music player dies because the battery runs out. Trying to calm her down, Ray sings the song Rainbow to cheer her up, though his face still carries a heavy, distant look, as if he is hiding something beneath the surface.
Red and yellow and pink and...
Sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow.
They eventually stop at a rest area when Perry needs to use the bathroom. Ray also plans to buy batteries for her, but things do not go as expected. Struggling financially and unable to use his card at the store, he ends up buying a drink instead. He returns and casually claims that the store does not sell batteries. Soon after, Perry realizes her mirror is missing. Joanne assumes it might have been left in the restroom and goes to look for it. Ray checks the back seat, but while searching, he accidentally knocks over a cup of coffee and spills it, showing just how careless he is in that moment. Outside the car, Perry notices a balloon tied near a construction site, with a message wishing someone a quick recovery. Curious, she walks closer to take a look. Suddenly, a wild and aggressive dog approaches her. Panicked, she calls out for her father. Ray sees what is happening and immediately rushes over, realizing how close Perry is to the edge of the construction area. He grabs a rock and tries to scare the dog away, but instead Perry backs up even further. In a split second, she loses her footing and falls.
Daddy!
Without hesitation, Ray jumps down after her to try and save her. The impact leaves Ray briefly unconscious. When he finally comes to, he is disoriented, his head bleeding, and everything around him feels hazy. In that moment, his reality begins to break apart. This is fractured. Not long after, Joanne rushes over in a panic when she sees Perry lying on the ground. Ray is still dazed, staring at his injured daughter, struggling to process what just happened. Joanne tries to snap him back to reality, but in his confusion, he pushes her away. Ray closes his eyes for a moment, trying to steady himself. When he finally regains his focus, there is some relief. Perry is still alive, though she is in pain with what appears to be a broken arm. Carefully, Ray lifts her and carries her back to the car. They rush to a nearby hospital they had passed earlier. As soon as they arrive, they head straight to the emergency room. The receptionist tells Ray to calm down and wait, which is strange considering how much pain Perry is in. Even more surprising, Ray actually listens and sits down. Joanne, on the other hand, becomes desperate, doing everything she can to get a doctor to see their daughter immediately. Something about the situation feels off. The receptionist is not even at the desk at first, then suddenly reappears, acting as if nothing happened. She insists they follow the usual process, asking them to wait and fill out the registration. Ray starts to feel uneasy, especially when the receptionist begins talking about blood types. It does not feel like a normal intake process. While waiting, Joanne apologizes for the earlier argument, but there is something odd about her behavior too. Ray, dealing with a headache, decides to grab a drink to ease the pain. At the vending area, he notices something unusual, a strange interaction between a doctor and an ambulance worker that feels tense and out of place. Not long after, his name is called, and things only get stranger. Instead of the usual medical questions, the staff begins asking about his marriage, his family's mental health history, and even whether he would consider donating Perry's organs. The questions catch him off guard. None of this makes sense, and it raises serious concerns about what is really going on inside this hospital. It is also revealed that Ray was previously married to a woman named Abby, who has passed away. Because unresolved insurance matters from that time, he is required to pay in cash. Soon after, a nurse arrives to take Perry away for treatment. As they leave, Ray overhears the receptionist whispering on the phone, adding to the growing sense that something is very wrong. Eventually, Perry is given a room and examined by a doctor named Bertram. Even though she is clearly in pain and needs urgent care, the doctor seems oddly distracted, talking about things that do not feel relevant. His tone and choice of words come across as slightly off. After checking her condition, Bertram notes that Perry's pupils are abnormal and that she may have a serious head injury. She is then referred to another doctor, Bruce, for further examination. Because the scanning room is limited, only one person is allowed to accompany her. Ray decides that Joanne should go with Perry while he stays behind. Dr. Bruce explains that the scan will take quite some time, so Ray is told to relax and wait. There is something unsettling about the way Bruce smiles before they leave, as Joanne and Perry head downstairs. Ray ends up dozing off in the waiting area, and when he wakes up, several hours have already passed. It is now late afternoon, but Joanne and Perry still have not returned. While in the restroom, Ray notices a bandage on his head that was not there before, adding to his confusion. When he asks the staff, they tell him that the shift has changed. The new receptionist has no information about earlier patients because all registration forms are discarded at the end of each shift. Ray tries to find Dr. Bertram, but he has already gone home. Once again, Ray is told to sit and wait, reassured that if he was treated, everything should be fine. But Ray cannot shake the feeling that something is wrong. His patient starts to wear thin, and he insists that they check the patient records again. Still, there is no sign of Perry's name anywhere. His frustration quickly turns into anger. As he looks around, he notices bags of medical waste filled with blood, which immediately makes him think of Perry. He rushes to ask about the scanning room, only to be told that the last patient who entered was an elderly woman earlier that morning. No one else has been there since. Now completely shaken, Ray begins to question everything. The staff suggests that he might be mistaken, that perhaps he came to the wrong hospital, or that his family may have already left. Instead of answers, he is met with dismissal, as if his concerns are nothing more than an inconvenience. With no help from the receptionist and his suspicions growing stronger, Ray decides to sneak further into the hospital on his own. He checks the room where Perry was supposed to be, but she is nowhere to be found. Not long after, a security guard named Jeff confronts him. Ray tries to explain everything, insisting that he is only there to find his family. A doctor named Lucado steps in and listens to his story, offering to help locate his wife and daughter. But once again, there is no record of Perry in the patient system. Ray then notices Nurse Ann and asks about her, since she was the one who took Perry earlier. However, Ann claims that Ray came to the hospital alone, only to treat his own head injury. According to her, there was no wife or child with him. At this point, Ray begins to lose control. Convinced that everyone is lying to him, he causes a scene. The staff quickly restrain him, using tear gas and a sedative before locking him in a room. Eventually, Ray calms down and apologizes for the disturbance. Jeff shows some mercy and leaves him there alone. Still disoriented, Ray suddenly gets back up and searches the room for anything that can help him. He finds an adrenaline shot and injects himself to stay alert. Fueled by desperation, he breaks the glass door and escapes. He rushes through the hallways, checking room after room, but there is still no sign of Joanne or Perry. Jeff soon realizes he has escaped and immediately goes after him. Ray manages to get outside, shaken and overwhelmed, with no idea where his family could be. That is when he spots a police car and rushes toward it for help. The officers Griggs and Childs listen as Ray explains everything, from the incident at the construction site to bringing his daughter to the hospital, and then suddenly losing both his wife and child. He insists that the hospital must have done something to them. To support his claim, he shows them photos of Joanne and Perry. After hearing his story and seeing the evidence, the officers begin to take him seriously and agree to help him figure out what is really going on. The police head inside and speak with the receptionist and Jeff, which quickly turns into a tense exchange. Ray points out the last place he saw his wife and daughter, a ward he believes is number 9, and asks to be taken there. Before they can move forward, Dr. Lucado steps in and insists that Ray came to the hospital alone. When the officers ask for patient records, Lucado explains that he was not on duty at the time and suggests that files can sometimes be misplaced or never entered into the system at all. This only deepens Ray's suspicion. He demands that Dr. Bertram be contacted since he was the last one to examine Perry. Eventually, Nurse Ann calls him, and in the meantime, Ray is escorted to the scanning area on the 3rd floor. As they move through the hospital, Ray becomes confused, insisting that he saw Perry being taken to a lower level. The staff quickly dismiss this, reminding him that the scanning equipment is located on the 3rd floor. When they check the machine logs, they show that the last recorded use was earlier that morning, long before Ray arrived. According to the records, Perry was never there. They even recovered discarded patient forms, and once again, only Ray's name appears, not Perry's. There is still no proof that his family was ever admitted. Eventually, Dr. Bertram arrives. Instead of confirming Ray's story, he supports the same version as everyone else. He explains that Ray came in alone after a car accident, suffering from a head injury. At that time, Ray was advised to undergo a scan, but chose to wait in the lobby for his wife. However, the name mentioned was not Joanne, but Abby, his first wife. This revelation completely shakes Ray. His thoughts spiral as he starts to question his own reality, wondering if he might actually be imagining everything. Still refusing to give up, Ray insists that his wife and daughter were with him. Jeff then suggests checking the hospital's CCTV footage, hoping it will settle the matter. But the footage turns out to be inconclusive. The cameras do not cover the exact area where Ray claims his family was sitting. At this point, the officers begin to doubt him. From their perspective, nothing supports his story. Ray continues to push, asking for more footage, but Lucado explains that there are no cameras in treatment areas due to privacy policies. Without a warrant, the police cannot search further, and even if they could, there is still no clear evidence that Ray's family ever disappeared inside the hospital. Desperate to prove that Joanne and Perry were really with him, Ray searches his memory for anything that could support his story. He finally recalls the cashier at the rest area who saw them together before they left. The police head out to question the cashier, while Childes stays behind with Ray. While waiting, Ray notices something under a hospital bed, a yellow hair clip that he recognizes as Perry's. Even though there is no clear identification on it, he insists that it belongs to her. What makes it even more disturbing is the presence of blood on it. The situation continues to escalate, and the staff begin to suspect that Ray's condition may be affecting his perception. At that moment, a middle-aged woman named Dr. Jacobs arrives. She is a psychiatrist from the hospital's mental health department. Jacobs approaches Ray calmly and offers to speak with him in private. Eventually, he agrees. She asks him to go back to the beginning and explain everything that happened before they came to the hospital, including details about his first wife, Abby. Ray explains that he and Perry fell at the construction site earlier that day, while Abby had died years ago in a car accident. He insists that the two incidents are unrelated. However, it is revealed that Ray has a history of alcohol abuse. When asked whether he had been drinking during the earlier incident, he suddenly begins to recall fragments of the accident that killed Abby. Sensing that something deeper is going on, Jacob suggests that they return to the construction site where everything started. She believes that Ray may be experiencing severe trauma, and there is still a chance that Joanne and Perry could be there. With that, the group heads back to the location. Childs calls for additional support, including a tracking dog, while Griggs confirms that the rest area is already closed and they are still trying to reach the cashier. When they arrive at the construction site, there is no sign of Joanne or Perry. Ray walks them through what he remembers, explaining how Perry had been playing with her missing mirror, how the dog appeared, and how everything quickly spiraled out of control. Eventually, they find Perry's mirror lying below. Ray believes it must have fallen from her pocket during the incident, but the discovery does not stop there. There is also a significant amount of blood at the scene. Ray tries to explain it away, claiming it came from his own head injury after the fall. But this explanation only frustrates the officers even more. The amount of blood does not match his story, and the gap between what Ray believes and what they are seeing continues to grow wider. At this point, Ray becomes even more suspicious of everyone around him. He starts to believe that the hospital staff and the police are working together against him. When pressed again about what really happened, Ray insists that everything began with the dog at the construction site, that he threw a rock to drive it away, and that it led to Perry falling. But Jacobs challenges his version of events. She suggests that there may not have been any dog at all, that Ray was already overwhelmed and angry after arguing with his wife, and that in that moment he lost control. According to her, he may have unintentionally caused the deaths of both Joanne and Perry. She explains that his mind could be creating a false reality to shield him from the trauma. After losing his family once before, the guilt may have pushed him to rewrite what really happened. For a moment, Ray falls silent. He stares into nothing, overwhelmed, and begins to break down. Part of him starts to believe that what Jacobs is saying might be true. Just as the situation escalates and he is about to be taken in for suspected murder, a sudden sound changes everything. The barking of a dog echoes nearby, proving that the animal was real after all.
To an attorney, if you cannot afford an attorney.
You heard that?
In a burst of desperation, Ray grabs a police officer's gun and turns it on everyone. He locks them inside a room and takes Jacob's hospital access card. Convinced that his family is still alive, he rushes back to the hospital. Trying to avoid attention, he carries flowers in front of his face as he moves through the building. At one point, he passes a nursery, which triggers a painful memory. He recalls the accident that killed his first wife, Abby, who had been pregnant at the time. Determined to go further, Ray steals a doctor's uniform and heads to a restricted lower floor that requires special access. When he runs into Jeff again, he pulls him into the elevator to take his key. A struggle breaks out, and in the end, Ray kills him. Reaching the lower level, Ray finds one of Perry's toys in a trash bin. This only strengthens his belief that his wife and daughter are being held there. As he moves deeper inside, he begins to see disturbing things. Doctors transporting human organs and patients who appear to have undergone extreme procedures.
Driver.
Following a hospital staff member, he sneaks into a dark room and makes a horrifying discovery. It looks like they are preparing to operate on Perry. In that moment, everything confirms his worst fear. Without thinking, Ray opens fire, but his shot hits a gas pipe instead. The room fills with chaos as the staff try to stop him, urging him to think clearly. A nurse attempts to restrain him, nearly sedating him, but Ray manages to fight back and fire again, triggering a violent explosion. Dr. Bruce is caught in the chaos as well, trying to intervene, but Ray shoots him in the leg. In the middle of all this destruction, Ray feels a surge of relief. In his mind, he has finally saved Joanne and Perry. With everything seemingly over, Ray drives away with Joanne and Perry, heading back home. Along the way, he gently sings Rainbow again, trying to comfort Perry as if everything is finally okay. But none of it is real. What Ray sees and believes is nothing more than a complete illusion. Everything Jacob suspected turns out to be true. The conspiracy, the organ trafficking, the chaos inside the hospital, all of it exists only in Ray's mind. In reality, the hospital staff have been normal all along. The truth is far more tragic. After the incident at the construction site, Perry did not survive the fall. Overwhelmed by shock and trauma, especially after failing to save Abby and her unborn child in the past, Ray's mind begins to break. Unable to accept what has happened, he loses control. In that state, he pushes Joanne, causing her to fall and suffer a fatal injury. From there, his mind creates an entirely different version of events. One where he is not responsible. One where he is trying to save his family instead of facing the reality that he has already lost them. In the end, Ray places both of their bodies in the trunk of his car. Even then, he continues to believe that he is a good husband and a good father, that he has rescued them and brought them to safety. The heartbreaking reality is that Ray himself is critically injured, lying in the hospital as a patient in need of surgery, while the bodies of Joanne and Perry remain hidden in his car, carried along by a man who can no longer tell the difference between truth and illusion. So the moral of the story is, if your life starts feeling like a conspiracy movie, maybe check your brain before blaming the hospital.